Jason Johnson is a former congressional campaign manager for the Democrats and the Republicans and professor of political science at Hiram College. He joins us now live from Washington, D.C. I suppose, Professor, might part of the problem be we don't really know what the administration or President Obama actually wants. They just aren't making a very clear case.
It really wouldn't matter. The United States is so burned out on war. The entire American citizenry was lied to by George Bush, and basically President Obama is dealing with that legacy. It's going to be very hard for any president for the next 15 to 20 years to make any case for foreign military adventures because Americans are still distrustful for Bush. So I don't think there's any amount of message consistency that he could have come up with.
Right, but isn't that because he doesn't really know what he's doing? That's what it seems. I mean, the administration seems to be giving us conflicting messages on a daily basis.
Well, I don't know. I think that from the very beginning, the president said that he either wanted to punish or deter what Assad was doing. And I think the end result, if what we have discovered today, if what these sort of early plans are with France and Russia and the United States end up being a situation where chemical weapons are no longer in the equation in the Syrian civil war and no shots have to be fired, at least from the United States or NATO or the UN, that will be considered a success. And I think that was the plan all along, even if it wasn't clear when the administration was saying it.
That was the plan all along. John Kerry and others said this was just an off-the-cuff rhetorical statement. We were told up until pretty late yesterday, actually, that we should be pretty skeptical about this until President Obama said maybe it was a breakthrough. Really, that was the plan all along.
I think so, and there's two ways, really basic ways to look at it. Either this is an entirely incompetent administration, or a lot of this had to do with saving face. And I think in many instances, a lot of people forget that the Russian involvement in this isn't just a matter of being allies with Syria, but there are lots of Russian consultants on the ground that are helping the Syrians with their anti-missile defense systems. A U.S. bombing would have ended up killing Russian citizens. So this is a way for Russia to get involved, save face without having to directly get involved. And I think everyone was aware of that from the very beginning. So again, I do think that this was a long-term plan. It wasn't the president stumbling into success.
I mean, there's another way of looking at it, though. Instead of pretending that the president has handled all this masterfully, we should welcome the uncertainty, the vacillation, his ability to adjust from what was or what seemed to be a rather ill-thought-out plan. This is quite welcome, actually, isn't it?
Well, I think anything that results in the rest of the world paying attention to what's happening in Syria is a positive result. And this is just the beginning. You still have hundreds of thousands of refugees. You still have a civil war that's raging where even the opposition is not really solidified one way or another. So if this gets the rest of the world involved, remember, the Arab League came forward and said that they were unhappy with the fact that Assad had used chemical weapons. So if this gets the world involved and we can have a peaceful resolution to the civil war and the use of chemical weapons, I think a lot of different sides can say that they've been successful in how they've handled this.
There's another suspicion there, and certainly from the noises in London and Paris, it's difficult not to think about this, that actually President Obama still wants some sort of feel-good, face-saving strike, but he's using some sort of diplomatic process as a cover because he failed to win over the American people. But now he can perhaps say, well, you see, they didn't go for the UN Security Council resolution on chemical weapons, or they're being too slow.
No, I disagree with that. And the reason why is because even though it was going to be close, the president was probably going to win the vote in the Senate. He was never going to win the vote in the House. And if we look at this historically, the same thing happened in Kosovo. President Clinton only got approval from one house of Congress, and he still put bombs in the air. So
yeah,
I think a lot of people are confused. Well, exactly. But again, this is more similar to the Iraq situation. This is more similar to Kosovo than it is to Iraq. And also, the President of the United States can send troops anywhere for up to 30 days without getting congressional approval. So no, I don't think this was a failure so much as strategy.
Hang on. Under the War Powers Act of 73, that's only true if the U.S. itself or its interests are actually attacked. He can't just go in.
Right, which is
I assume you're citing the War
president...
Powers Act of 73.
Yes, the president can basically go in anywhere if the president says that this is something that has to do with U.S. interests.
No,
now, whether or not we as the public agree
a
with
national emergency created by attack upon the United States, its territories or possessions. It's quite specific.
If it has been used and it is expanded by Ronald Reagan, by Bill Clinton.
Yeah.
Whether or not it's legal has to do with how the president interprets the Constitution. We don't, again, it's not necessarily something that the United States people always agree with. Unfortunately, it's something that presidents have done in the past. So, again, the president was on strong ground to attack if he had wanted to.
Professor Johnson, thank you.